This is the Zone 1 podcast for a premium travel experience. The Zone 1 podcast brings you incredible travel opportunities and excursions through networktravel.ca. The Zone 1 podcast features the legendary Jackie Ray Greening, Rick McSwain from Network Travel, and I'm your host, Terry Evans. Three baby boomers trying to figure out technology. Here we are again for another Zone 1 podcast. It's wonderful to see you, Jackie Ray and Rick. We're all set for exploration. We're traveling the world, one podcast at a time with networktravel.ca. As we record this, you are one day away from departure for your trip to the French Polynesia, the South Pacific, so that's very exciting. But before we let you go, we figured we better do another podcast and talk about some of the common questions that people have when they are booking a trip. And quite likely, this is something that people have been saving for quite a while. It's a bucket list sort of trip, as you mentioned in a previous podcast, Rick. And there's some things that people may not know just because either they haven't done one of these before or they're going to a different part of the world that they've never been to before. Where do we start now with common questions?
Wow.
In terms of what you pack, I mean, it depends where you're going, but for something like this, all you need is suntan lotion, sunglasses, a hat, your Speedo, and I don't know.
Though on this one, the Paul Gauguin to the French Polynesia, it is, you have to get a little dressed up in the evening. So there's kind of a, it's casual in the day with swimsuits and things like that and shorts, but then you got to have some dress pants or a skirt and get dressed up for nighttime. So the packing is a little more challenging because you go, okay, casual in the day, but a little more dressy at night, which is kind of nice too.
So you've got to have your a shirt with a collar rather than your Corona muscle shirt, Rick.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Oh, so attractive. Yeah.
And I'm using my Cody fingers when I say muscle.
Do you know what the biggest question I think we've had from the minute the trip was booked, though, was where else can we go before or after? Because you look at all the islands, the Cook and Society Islands. There's so many there, but there's really no other place that's really close to those. Like New Zealand's still a trek, Hawaii's still a trek. So that I think was the biggest question we had initially, Rick.
Yeah, exactly. And so a lot of people, what they're doing, or many people, they're going to go into the Marquesas. They're just going to explore around some of the other outer islands. There's over 150 islands scattered around the South Pacific. So there's a lot still in that area. But like you said, people were talking, oh, well, you know what, we might go down to New Zealand. That's what you guys are going to do. But it's still a bit of a hike, right? So how many hours is it, Jackie Ray, from...
I knew you'd ask me that. I should be better prepared. Hold it. Checked with the husband. How far is the flight to New Zealand? 4.5 hours there. He knows what we're doing.
Not bad. but you're across the date line too. So it's big change. So getting back to what to dress for, how to pack and stuff So in the evening, I mean, we're on a 11-night luxury cruise, Paul Gauguin. So of course, what they're recommending is, you're not going to bring a suit and jacket and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you certainly can, but what they recommend is country club kind of attire, if you will. So if you're at a really nice all-inclusive, for example, in the Caribbean or something, what you would do is you would wear maybe some cotton pants, maybe a nice golf shirt, as long as it has a collar on it. And I think pretty much you're good to go. They don't really appreciate open-toed sandals and those types of things because they prefer that the evenings are a little bit dressier, I guess, but it's hot. So you're not wearing a jacket and you're doing all of these things, right? So
I'm sitting there trying to think of some of the other questions a lot of the listeners had, but excursions, because there's different things. You can go biking on the islands. You can go, if you want to scuba dive, like I know, Terry, you're into that big time. There's all these different options that you can have too. So I'm one more that once I get there, I wing it. Though other people like to go more prepared and book all their excursions in advance. So it's totally up to the person how you want to do it.
What about something a little more general? The two of you were talking about your trip that you're coming up on with the South Pacific, but what about something a little more general, making sure that you have all of the documentation. Do you need vaccinations? Are there going to be things that you're going to have to take into consideration with allergies, or everything from malaria to medication, I suppose? What about stuff like that, and how much information can you provide when people call to book at Network Travel, Rick?
So what we do is we're very cautious not to give out medical advice. I mean, that's not something that we want to do, because everyone's different, and it's best that the advice that we give is people go talk to their medical expert or their pharmacist, maybe their doctor or something, and just find out what's best for them personally. I mean, the advice that we do give, however, is what is required. For example, if you're in East Africa, for example, if you're going into a place like Uganda, they've got yellow fever cautionary areas, that type of thing. And you can't travel outside of Uganda into a country that isn't affected with yellow fever without having the inoculation. So you have to be aware of that, because, for example, if you're coming from Uganda and then you're going into Kenya, or Kenya and then going into Uganda, there's some challenges there you just have to know about. It's not a big deal. But malaria, for example, it's mosquito driven. It's not something you can, you have to take medication for that. You can't get it vaccinated for malaria. What we did find in many cases, while this will be my sixth time back to Kenya, we're in 5-star luxury resorts, tented or the lodge type of resorts. So we're not out in the bush as much as people may think. So it's entirely up to you as a person if you want to take the malaria drug or not. But what we've found in many cases, the side effects from the malaria drug can be nausea, diarrhea, mild fever, those types of things. So you're down potentially. It depends on who you are and how it affects you, but you could be down for maybe a day and a half or 2 days, and you don't want to be out on safari with the diarrhea. So, no. So
There's a country song.
so pull it over. Yeah. But honestly, I've encountered more people with side effects from the malaria, and I'm not saying this because I don't want people to take the malaria drug. So don't misunderstand me, but it's a personal choice, and I've never taken it. But the people that have come with us in the past have said, "Oh, I'm not feeling good. I got this fever and I feel nausea and all of these different side effects." And it's typically because of the malaria drug. It's not because they've ate something. And we always go through like 101. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. It's the same. It's always the same thing. And they told me this a long time ago, and someone came to me and said, "Oh, you're going to Kenya, so guaranteed half or more of your group will be sick from diarrhea, probably 2 days per person, that kind of thing." And oh my God, we're going to have all these people with diarrhea.
I'm going to ride in the other Jeep, thanks.
Good call. That's a really good call.
But you know what? As this will be, like I said, my sixth time back, I have not had really, maybe one, maybe two people that were sick in doing this for the last 6 years. In Kenya especially, or even in South Africa too, we don't have a lot of people getting sick. And rule 101, honestly, is don't eat anything that was washed or potentially washed with tap water. And that is the key.
Even brushing your teeth. That was we're warned. Yeah, even brushing your teeth. Make sure you use bottled water. Yeah,
exactly. And we had one lady. She was complaining because she was feeling ill, and so I said, "Did you drink the water? Did you eat the lettuce?" No. And I said, "Did you brush your teeth with tap water? Because it's a habit. You're ready for bed." And she goes, "Oh my God, I forgot about the tap water. You have to use bottled water." And we figured out that was probably the reason why she was upset.
The Zone 1 podcast is brought to you by networktravel.ca. Go to the website today to find out more about the trip on the private yacht in Croatia, the San Diego baseball getaway in 2026, the East Africa safari coming up in March of 2026, and the Japan in Bloom cruise in 2027. All this and more at networktravel.ca. not to carry on with the theme of Montezuma's revenge, but I mean, it is something that a lot of people do forget, whether it's brushing your teeth or having lettuce, thinking, "Oh, I'll be safe if I just have a salad." But I mean, that's come back to bite me in
Hmm.
you know what,
Yeah.
in a place as frequently visited as Puerto Vallarta. So that Jody and I, my wife and I, were both very sick. And as far as inoculations, vaccinations, and that sort of thing, I remember the first time we went to Thailand, we got all of the shots and figured that, oh, we're going to the other side of the planet. We better make sure that we're all vaxxed up and taken care of. And then the second time we went, we didn't do anything. We we just we were sitting out in the middle of the street and we were having dinner cooked by locals because we knew someone who had married a Thai woman, and we were just there was food coming from houses on five sides of both sides of his place, and it was just a gigantic table in the middle of the road. Cars were driving around us and mosquitoes were biting my legs, and we were getting ready to go golfing with cobras and boa constrictors the next day. It was like vaccinations be damned. We're going all in, sort of thing.
I
Dude,
love that.
you're painting a pretty scary picture. Holy cow.
I
Uh,
love it though. But that's where network travel, where I really love, they just leave it up to your discretion. It's you do your own research. It's your decision. And it is, because you're putting it in your body. Or so there's so much information out there. So it's pretty easy to go get that wherever you're traveling. You should, just do a little research, obviously.
Yeah, and
I
I
think
went to get my yellow fever because it's required going into some parts of East Africa. It was interesting because when I went into the special immunization center, she said, "Have you ever had Hep A or B vaccinations?" And I go, "No." And she goes, "You've traveled all of these years and you've never had Hep A or B, and you can catch hepatitis from like the water, the ice, from obviously there's many ways of catching, and it's quite terrible if you do get it. So I think if I were going to give anyone advice, Hep A and Hep B would probably be the two that you should have for any place you're going that may be tropical or
Mhm.
subtropical. It's really really good thing
Yeah,
to do.
that's what I did for sure. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
good to get that updated even where we live. It doesn't
yeah,
matter. It's good. It's good.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
it is kind of weird. I do recall we had a acquaintance who had joined us on a trip to Jamaica, and we were at an all-inclusive resort. And of course, like a lot of countries, Caribbean countries, you have a lot of stray cats. So, and where there's stray cats and there's beach, there's a lot of stray cats and scat and whatnot. And she was all about the cats, and she was petting the cats and walking where the cats were walking and doing their thing. And then she ended up getting quite sick too. So that's another thing too. I suppose staying away from the local animals, as cute as they are, is probably a good idea, even though you want to go up and pet them.
Yeah, when I see video footage of people on holidays and they go, and they probably have never been bathed, and I'm going, "Why are you touching that animal? No, don't." Yikes.
What about currency, Rick? How many people have questions about currency and what
Mhm.
they should be doing as far as the local currency wherever they're traveling? I suppose this doesn't really make any difference if you're traveling to Mexico or if you're traveling to Montenegro. I mean, you probably have to find out what's going on and what you need, whether it's Canadian dollars works or U.S. dollars is accepted, or what you have to exchange, Thai baht or French francs.
Or the Vietnam dong, as well. You have to buy a suitcase of that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but and that yeah, absolutely, that's one of the key questions, what to pack, what's electricity, and what kind of currency, right?
Hmm.
And the currency, like, we always host some like a get together for every group that we do. So before we go, we will do all the documentation, and then we include all of these answers to these questions within the documentation. But to answer your question, we always recommend, if you're going into, doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter if it's Mexico or Vietnam, Cambodia, Australia, New Zealand, wherever it is, it doesn't matter, South Pacific, bring some small denominations of local currency. And the reason being is, if you're going to go out maybe and just have a beer, a glass of wine or something in a local pub or a cafe or something, or a cafe latte or whatever, a coffee, or you want to pick up maybe some small souvenirs or something, it's always good to have local currency. You don't go into a market and drop down a credit card. I mean, in many cases now they will take the credit card, but he goes behind some place and then he comes back, and next thing you know, you've got $20,000 on your credit card. So you want to avoid that. In many cases, the places that we travel to, credit cards are quite safe at the accommodations that we're staying at. And if not, we'll make sure that people don't use their cards. But we highly recommend always bringing, a few $100s of local currency. Many places now too, you can, we find places where you can exchange money with your debit card potentially, and then get local currency if you can't get it here. There are some banks here that it's difficult to get. For example, in Kenya, it's the shilling. So there's different banks. I mean, it's hard to get, I think, the Vietnamese dong right now too. And it's funny because each note is like $10,000 dong, or not dollars, but dong. And
it's
so,
not enough to buy a stick of gum, sort of thing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
and a
I
Coke.
had a funny story when I arrived in the Czech Republic one time. My girlfriend and I, we were just so busy at work, so we had no research. And we land at the Prague airport, and we go to the bank machine to get money. And we go, "What's the currency here?" We didn't even know the currency. That's how prepared we were. And I said, "Well, if we hit the bottom right button, I think that gives us a couple $100." We didn't have a clue, so we just hit that button. We got all this cash, and
Oh,
Right. I don't know if that's the most sound advice. Just hit the bottom right button.
we got
Make-
something. Still don't have a clue what we got,
Yeah.
but oh my
You
God,
hit
that
the
was
bottom
funny.
right button, all of a sudden you're going to get a suitcase full of dong, all right. It's the last thing you need.
no way.
I know.
Yes, that's a great point, Rick, that you bring up. It's difficult to get some currencies, and for a lot of currencies, if you go to your bank, they have to order it. So it's not like you can just, our departure is tomorrow, I'll just go and get some French
Whatever.
francs,
Mhm.
this afternoon. And I keep saying French francs, and it's funny, you're trying to figure out what the currency is in Prague. It's probably all euro by now. I don't know why.
Yeah, you're
It's like
probably right.
it's like we're in a James Bond movie from the 1960s, referring to French francs and whatnot.
Yeah.
Just hit the bottom right button. It works. There's Jackie Ray's piece of advice on the Zone 1 podcast. You're welcome.
I suppose another thing, and maybe your experience with travel, Rick, just with the amount of time you've spent at the airport, and JR, perhaps you know as well, there's the currency exchanges in the airport here in Edmonton, likely in Calgary and other airports in Canada. Do you know that is that a better exchange rate, or is that something you should stay away from? Is it better to go through your banks? Because I also know that you're talking about doing some acquisition of local currency with your debit card. That can also lead to some bank fees that you didn't anticipate. So it's a good thing to find out about your bank. But what about the airport currency exchanges?
I usually find that the currency exchange at at various airports, like we do this research before we go, and where was I? I think it was in Cambodia, and they said the airport in Cambodia, the exchange is better than you can get at home. And so there's several airports that we've encountered, especially that it's either better or very close to what we can get here. And it's obviously then you're not messing around with the banks here. But the issue here too is they're charging you a fee for the service, and you're still paying bank fees and things. So it's, I don't know if there's not a big difference. I mean, you're not taking out thousands of dollars. You're taking out maybe a couple $100s or something. And it's minuscule, I think, when you really look at it. If it's $10 or $5 or whatever the fee is, it's the convenience. I think it's worth the fee, right?
Reluctantly.
Hi, this is Terry Evans, hoping you'll join me for the Reluctantly Podcast. ReluctantlyPodcast.com, with guests like Tom Cochran, Brian Johnson from AC/DC, Brian Baumler, and Kevin Lowe, formerly with the Edmonton Oilers. Also Darby Mills, Lee Aaron, Haley Benedict, and more. ReluctantlyPodcast.com.
Reluctantly.
I even remember when we were in Hanoi, the hotel we were at, they gave us Vietnamese
Yeah,
money,
it was-
and it was really minimal.
Oh,
what they
totally. It was like
charged.
$2 or
Yeah,
something,
it was,
right?
yeah, ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it was really convenient to have it right at the hotel.
Yeah.
Jackie Ray, with the amount that you've traveled and you end up eventually coming home after a week or 2 weeks or 16 days, whatever the case may be, you end up coming home with some currency. Do you have a file folder of all of your everything from baht to dong to this and pesos and whatnot?
I'm really actually pretty good about, or I'll leave it in the donation wish thing at an airport as I'm leaving a lot of the time because there isn't, if it's not a lot of money, I'm pretty good about to the end. But now do have a drawer full of just trinkets here and there, and I have no clue where they're from.
I do. It's in my other
You have a whole
bedroom.
lot of garage sale stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Though I did have some money left over from Kenya, and I had a girlfriend going, so I gave it all to her. So
That's always a good idea to find out if you have friends or family that are going to the same destination that you've recently
Yeah.
come from. Obviously, you didn't want to go with them.
Exactly. What?
They're going on their own.
Just
You
send 'em
told
off.
the different weeks that you were going to be gone. Yes, and the other thing, making purchases safely. Rick, you touched on that, using a credit card at a market. We all know about traveling down to Mexico and some places in the Caribbean where you have the opportunity to barter at markets. Is it like that pretty much wherever you go? I know we had the opportunity to do that in Thailand. It was all kinds of fun.
Oh yeah, Morocco especially. You get into some of the Middle Eastern countries, that is the culture. You get into Asia, that is the culture. And if you're the sucker that says $50, okay, um, you you paid probably $40 more than it's worth.
How about, man, I was in Kenya and I hadn't joined the group yet because we were late getting in. And so we were meeting up and we stop at one, I don't know, roadside little trinket place. And of course, I bought $100 bread bowl. I was sucked in. I actually gave it away to a listener at the end of that trip because everybody couldn't believe I paid $100 for this frickin' bread bowl.
Sucker! I know,
Sucker!
yeah. Even the guy that sold it to you, he was like, "What?" He saw you coming.
The same thing happened with my wife in Thailand. She bought some silk pillowcases for throw pillows that would go on a couch or on top of a bed when you're not using the bed and that sort of thing. And she just said, "How much are these?" And they told her, and she goes, "Okay," and handed the money over. I went, "What are you?" we get on the shuttle, and one of our other guests, one of the 20 people that were with us, she shows up. She's look at these really nice pillow shams that I got. And I said, "Oh yeah, how much did you pay for those?" $8. And yeah, Jody, how much did you pay? 40. So
I'm not a good haggler at all. Yeah, just
No.
here, take all my money.
yeah,
Well, and it's so funny because sometimes you're in these little places, these curio shops and markets and stuff. And I've seen one lady, she was like, no, I'm not paying more than $11. And the guy goes, okay, $12. And I go like, shit, they're worth $12. Gee. And she goes, no, I'm not paying. Like, and she sat there, I swear to God, she was there for a half an hour quibbling over it. And I said, like, Judy, it's $1. Like, just do it. No. But it was the whole point of
Yeah.
going to negotiate.
transportation can sometimes be an extra, depending on the extent of your visits to, even if you're on a cruise, you pop into a port, you want to go do something maybe on your own away from a shuttle or something that's not part of the organized tour. You should always probably make sure that you've got a set price that's been discussed and agreed upon with the driver before getting into the vehicle, right?
Absolutely. I was just going to mention that. So clarify what the price is. And if you're not sure, what happens too is a lot of times these guys, they pretend they can't speak English. And what they'll do is like, well, they're kind of messing around a little bit. Then you know what? Just let them go and then take the next cab. Because that's what you're going to end up with. Somebody's going to basically rip you. And I've seen it and it's happened to me lots of times, unfortunately. Not that it's a great amount, but still somebody will say like, holy cow, that was like, it was $20 and you paid like 40. Like, you end up paying double only because the guy couldn't speak English, but I'm sure he could because he knew exactly what we were saying in the back seat. You could tell by his body language, but yeah, just always make sure you negotiate the price, and it's negotiable too in many cases, depends on where you are. But we know, primarily we have an idea. Okay, we understand it's like 30 kilometers. I'm going to probably pay at least probably $30, right? Give or take. So if a guy's charging $120 to go 30 kilometers, right away the flags I think should be up, and you should, depends on where you are too and how much traffic, all those things. But but common sense.
Common sense, or travel with someone who has it.
Yes, that's the best piece of advice we've given on this show.
And I suppose, Rick, finally, network travel can provide information about medical insurance, travel insurance, cancellation, change policy, all of the things that go along in that category. Right.
Yeah, and we take care of everything. It doesn't matter if you're traveling with us on a group or if you're going on your own. We'll take care of all of those details. Some people, they want to book their own flights with points and that type of thing. For example, Jackie Ray, you're off to New Zealand. New Zealand is extremely, extremely strict with food. So you can't even enter the country with a chocolate bar. There's a $500 fine if you get caught bringing food of any type into the country. Like, they're so strict. So there's all kinds of variations of that. But you just got to be cognizant. If you're traveling just you and another person, then understand what the rules of the country are, understand what you can and can't do. Visas, for example, going into New Zealand, if you don't have your visa and you don't have it presented before you leave, for example, if you're going in from Vancouver Airport, they will decline you boarding and you can't leave. And you'll have to buy another airline ticket. So you got to have your documentation, and you got to know it's not just simply, I'll get it when I get there. You can't, Jackie Ray.
Yeah, for sure. I have mine already. You bet.
Yeah,
that's a really good point, and that should be, even if you think it's a silly question, do not leave it to chance as far as visas, documentation, and that sort of thing. And then one other quick thing, I guess it doesn't hurt to find out about safety and cultural advice when you're going to another country. Like, maybe thumbs up doesn't mean the same thing in East Africa that it means in East Vancouver.
Yeah,
I don't know what to compare, but gestures and that sort of thing.
And even clothing too, right? I mean, sometimes clothing is not acceptable. You can't dress in camouflage gear, for example, if you're going into some parts of the world, it's just not accepted. So it's you got to watch out for that. Another thing we didn't touch on is electrical. So electrical devices, converters, adapters. Why should I need a converter instead of an adapter? If you're bringing a hairdryer, you need a converter, because otherwise it'll, in many cases, burn out your hairdryer, your curling iron, that type of thing. So, but the one thing everyone should be aware of is your devices. They're set now, so they'll work as long as you have like an adapter, so you can plug the adapter in, so your plug will work. All of these devices that they come out with now, the iPhones, the Androids, all of this stuff now, your laptops, your iPads, all of it will work without worry about electrical currency. So.
Very good. All right. Just making a note. Don't wear camo on my vacation to El Salvador.
Excellent advice. I like that one.
Yeah, you don't want to fit in with the military.
This has been the Zone 1 podcast. For a premium travel experience, Rick McSwain from networktravel.ca, Jackie Ray Greening. I'm Terry Evans. The Zone 1 podcast is part of the Reluctantly Podcast Network.